Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of r/letsnotmeet. If you're interested in more creepy stuff, one, I have an entire playlist for creepy stories I've read, and two, I recently put out a video on some unexplained experiences some people from Reddit have had. That'll be in the comments down below if you're interested, but for now, let's get into these close encounters with some creepy people. Longtime lurker, first-time poster on this sub. This isn't a particularly long or grandiose story, but it's creepy, so I thought I'd share. To set the scene, our house is about a quarter-mile down a long driveway into the woods and completely hidden. The house and deck is built on a steep hill, so there are many places where you can walk into the house on ground floor through glass or wooden doors, but then you can go up and down flights of stairs to reach other parts of the ground floor. The same is the case for our decks. The whole thing kind of carries on like a series of terraces, and I love it. Because of this, we also have several upstairs that can't be reached by one another. This means you can go upstairs to the library, but to get to my second floor room, you have to go back down the stairs, walk across the biggest ground floor section we have, and then go up a different flight of stairs. It just so happens that this makes my room the hardest to get to. I've been extremely sick and out of school for a few weeks, and today I needed help. I ended up having to throw my phone against the floor, praise the case gods for working, to make enough noise to signal I needed help. After this, my dad has had to stay on the couch in the main ground floor area. This had me right between a couple of doors on the outside, the staircase up to my room, and also a staircase down to my parents' room, where there's another door to walk out onto the deck and another part of the hill. And I just laid on the couch doing my thing. My mom was 100 miles away at work, and with the open bedroom door, I could hear my dad rummaging through stuff. I had no idea what he was doing, but eventually it got quiet, and I heard his bedroom door to the outside open and close. Almost immediately after this, an outside door on the level I was on and the opposite side of the house opened, and my dad walked in, carrying a bag of groceries from a supermarket farther away that takes like an hour all told to go to. Small town life. He started talking about how he went all the way out to the store to buy me ingredients for my favorite pancake recipe and a banana to slice on top, and did I want to make them now or should we wait? It was definitely rattling because we have two dogs and neither even stirred. They were in the garage the whole time, closer to where my dad actually walked in. I think he just thinks I imagined it because I've been having a really bad day handling my chemo drugs and nothing was taken. To be fair, my parents' room looks like the place where all the good things are in the house. There's even a suspicious safe. But it's all in the library. If you broke in, you'd probably search there most too, just from its overall mood. I know I would. Sorry if this is kind of long, or if you're just left thinking, oh, this kid just scared herself, but I wanted to share, and regardless of whether it was my neighbor, or the wind, or the boogeyman in that room, I'm deadbolting everything tonight. I don't know, I'm guessing it wasn't a neighbor because your neighbor probably would have told somebody if they had come inside, and if it was a neighbor, then that means they're creeping in your house too and rummaging through your things. I mean, the sound of rummaging is pretty distinct. I don't think you'd mix that up with the wind or something else. And honestly, if I ever wanted to film a horror movie someday, I might private message this person on Reddit because it sounds like the perfect place for that sort of thing, and it actually might have kept you safer, the confusing nature of your house, that your room wasn't anywhere close to your parents' room, because if somebody that was breaking in heard you, they might have been like, oh, they've seen me, or something like that, and try and do something bad to you, but thank God nothing that bad happened, and, you know, I complain a lot about being super close to my neighbors, but it's stories like this that make me really glad I don't live in the middle of nowhere. Alright, next story. I was around 16 at the time of this happening. Firstly, I'd like to explain what type of person I am so my actions might make a bit of sense. I'm an average-looking girl, a bit overweight, which for my country makes me really undesirable. For this reason, I'm not used to males hitting on me or even considered it a possible occurrence back then. You could say I'm usually the man in our group. You know, the girl that looks after every other friend while they're drinking, and if a guy is being rude or harassing someone, I'm the one to shut him down. I don't know why I took on this role, probably because my friends are way too naive and nice. Well, I'm like that to strangers when I'm alone. I always try to be helpful if people look confused or ask me for directions or anything else. My high school is in the city center and I take the bus home. Since the buses get overcrowded during peak hours and I really hate being in crowds of people, I normally wait around 30 minutes to an hour to catch the bus. This night I walked to another bus stop around 5 stops before the one to my school, so I can kill some time and take an empty bus. It was dark and I was the only one at the stop. I usually don't have a problem with going out alone at night as I don't have the men bad assault mentality drilled into me. So I'm just minding my own business when this 45 to 50-year-old man comes up to me. He has a very friendly face and smile, so I don't think anything of it. He asks me something and then I realize he's Turkish. I tell him I don't understand, so he uses basic Bulgarian words he knows, and I somehow understand that he's just asking for directions. Of course, I try my best to explain, and after I feel like he understood, I expect him to just stop talking to me. No. He sat disturbingly close to me and started talking to me again in Turkish. I try to be polite and politely ignore him as best as I can while nodding my head with a smile, looking at the timetable. For some reason, this guy starts asking me for my phone number. At this moment, I realize that this is definitely not only a lost foreigner. I try to shut him down saying I don't have a phone. Don't ask why I thought that's going to work. I finally give in and give him a random phone number. He says something else to me again in Turkish, and then the worst thing happens. All this time I'm looking at the minute the bus will be coming in, I'm praying for him to please not try to call the number. Well, he does. And he shows me and asks why my phone isn't ringing. My stomach just flipped. I tried to think of something fast. Then I remember I have my old Motorola in my bag. I usually brought it to school to give to teachers who collected phones during class. I also like playing games on it. Fortunately, the battery was dead, so I just pretended that's the reason the call isn't going through. I see this guy try to argue, but at this moment the bus comes and I get on. I sit on the seat behind the driver as always. After 10 minutes, I get this weird feeling. I don't know what it was, but I felt watched. So I looked around, but since I'm in the front seat, I can't exactly see everything. Luckily, our buses have this gigantic mirror on the inside that shows the whole bus. I look into that and I can clearly see him. He's sitting on the last seat, his legs clearly visible. I start to panic. I'm still not sure he's following me, but I'm also a very cautious person, so I can't really ignore this. I start checking for him at every stop and he's still there. I get paranoid and I say screw it and get off the bus. The stop was at our local mall and luckily it was open until 10 p.m. I decided to go in and if he follows then I'll try and sneak out. He follows, alright. You have to understand that in my town almost nobody goes out after 9 p.m. So the mall is close to empty. I look around thinking of ways to disappear on him, but there's just no way. The mall's an open space. There are 3 floors, all almost empty. I'd be easily spotted anywhere. Now, you'll probably say, you should have asked the security guard to help. No, in Bulgaria we don't do that. That literally never even went through my mind. The security is just some grandpa that walks around all day. They don't actually do work or anything. If it were today, I might not be as stupid, but back then this wasn't even an option in my head. And besides, the security wasn't even around. So I do the most logical thing I can do and decided to utilize the knowledge I had acquired in the previous week. You see, the mall had a cool corridor system behind the stores. It was completely unmarked by any signs, and if you didn't know where you were going, you'd probably get lost, because it's just endless white corridors that lead to empty rooms for storage or some other stuff. Well, me being an avid anime fan, loved going around these corridors and pretending I'm a ninja from Naruto on a mission. 16-year-olds, am I right? So I can proudly say that I learned the right path to the back stairway of the mall. Because I was smart and obsessed with the idea of being a spy, I decided to lure this creepy guy in the corridors and then just go out from the back end of the mall. I firstly entered H&M and pretended to look around just to see if he was really stalking me. He didn't even try to hide. He stood outside the store just staring in. I really got scared for a second. But then I remembered I'm like the best 007 agent out there, so I just continued walking around the mall. I finally entered the corridors, and at this point I booked it to the staircase. I ran out and then didn't stop running for 2 bus stops. I tried looking back, but there was no one, so I proudly decided that I'm a hero and went home. Today, being a 21-year-old grown-up, I just think about how stupid that is, and I'd probably be 10 times as scared today than I was back then. Well, I hope it never comes to that. Oh my god, that is terrifying. Like, ugh, I'm glad that you had a really good plan and you were able to get out of there, but like, Jesus. Just a couple things. The title of this story was like, hey, I learned my lesson of like, don't be too nice to a stranger, but I really don't know what else you could have said to this guy or not said to this guy to like, not have him be creepy towards you. I mean, if somebody starts talking to you, it is really, really hard to just straight out ignore them, and like, if you ignore a stranger like that, that could make them angry, and maybe that would get bad. So I don't know what the ideal way to handle this social situation would have been. And just a few things of advice for anybody that might get themselves in a similar scenario. I know that anxiety about being around a lot of people or being in a claustrophobic situation or something like that is very real and a horrible thing, but I think if you have the option between being on a crowded bus during the day or late afternoon and being on a desolate bus in the middle of the, or not in the middle of the night, but like after it's gotten dark out, I do think that you might need to bite the bullet, or you might want to bite the bullet and maybe work on some coping mechanisms and just try and find some sort of zen there on the bus that's crowded, because it's better than being alone with the wrong person at night. And also, when it comes to the mall, I'm so proud that you were able to, like, do this sick thing of going into basically the back rooms of the mall and losing this dude. Like, if I wanted to film a horror movie in the mall, I'd pick one with creepy back rooms. That sounds so sick. And also, I know that the security guy might not have seemed like he would be able to help you, and you said that you might, like, go and seek him out later, but, like, for other people, you can go into a store and find an employee if somebody's following you and maybe just whisper to them what's going on, and they might be able to help you in some sort of way. But let me know if you have any strategies. I'm specifically interested in this one. If you have any possible coping mechanisms to somebody that might have a problem being around a lot of people or in like a crowded area, like a train or a bus. I know everything might not work, but if something's worked for you, let me know. Anyways, skate on the best of your abilities, guys. Make sure you're drinking more water, and I'll see you very soon. Peace.